goes in motion to the far sideline. Emmel looking to pass. Little screen play to Gavin French. He's got some room to work over there on the far sideline. Dives forward, and he will have the first down on that diving effort.
Inside to Kraus. Big bucket, Avery Kraus. Big bucket.
Intercepts the pass. Billies have a chance here to add to their lead. Kramer, feeling it. Another three. Drained it. 3 3-pointers in the first half for Trapper. Kramer gives the Billies.
Deep breath. Here's the pitch. There's a shot. That could be gone. That's out of here. How about a home run by Sam Robinson? That's home. How do you end the game?
He's ready to go. Danny winds, kicks, deals, and there's a ball game. He's going to hit.
Welcome to another Billies.Live production. Find us on your favorite social sites and apps. Like, subscribe, and get notified when we go live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with Coach. I'm not your usual host. I'm not JD. I'm not loud, and I don't have the same energy, but I'm still here. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be right back with head coach Lance Moffett to talk some Billies football.
We are proud to announce the payoff of our video scoreboard project 8 months ahead of schedule and at no cost to local taxpayers. This project will now provide over $100,000 a year to help Battlin Billie athletics pursue perfection. Billy Boosters has been providing our athletic programs with the tools to maintain high standards and consistent success since 1984.
Thank you to all of our sponsors, members, directors, officers, and parents for their continued support of student athletes and coaches.
Black Chalk Home and Laundry is one of the most unique home decor and gift boutiques in the Texas Hill Country. Come get lost in the found and unbound items that surprise and delight you around every turn. Steeped in history, our building will take you back to a bygone era that delights the senses. Black Chalk Home and Laundry, a happy place filled with the found and unbound. Come, discover.
Creek Street Dental utilizes the latest technologies in dental care. Dr. McBride has been specially trained to offer the Hill Country sedation dentistry. Anxious patients can sleep through oral surgery in a private room with family nearby. Their CBCT machine provides near-silent imaging, making possible the most painless and effective treatments. iTero technology allows virtual manipulation and modeling, so no more gagging on impression trays. Call 830-990-1178 for the best in your family's dental health today.
Los Cazadores is the stop for hunters to gear up and get ready for season. The store in Stonewall, Texas has been remodeled and stocked with guns, ammo, feeders, blinds, and much more. Los Cazadores has the top archery products, offering expert experience with an on-site 3D range. Bucks are brought in from all around to be scored with trophy scan technology and entered into our contest. Stop in and sign up for the world's largest whitetail hunting contest.
Nature and beauty along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing life down. While the front nine features significant elevation changes and the tranquility of Live Oak Creek, the back nine stuns with its panoramic vistas of the surrounding hills. As the home of the Fredericksburg Junior Golf Foundation and the Fredericksburg Middle School and High School golf teams, all of us at Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course are proud to support our community's tradition of excellence. Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course. Practice, play your way.
Here we are. Welcome back to Coffee with Coach. Talking some Billies football.
Yep, here we are.
A little bit of an audience here today. How are y'all? I don't have the energy, so I'm going to need y'all to bring it. I'm not JD.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll fill in just as best as I can. Coach?
Friday game day.
Good to see you, man.
It's good to be here.
Second time we've done this week.
It is. It's been a great pleasure doing the podcast with the Standard and getting a chance to talk about our kids. I just told Cade when I was leaving, Cade Yinsky was leaving the fieldhouse, I said, he joked that the kids and the coaches all call this muffins with Moffett because I always bring back a box of muffins when he does. So they
That's
think
a solid
funny.
name.
Yeah, they think that's funny, and it's a big joke to them. So he said, "You going to muffins with Moffett?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, I get to do my favorite thing is talk about the team that I love. So it's a great joy to be able to talk about these kids and these programs and all the things we do. So glad to be here, and I'm glad you're here.
Absolutely. And I joked when Paige asked me if I would do this. It's like, well, I've already done it once this week.
Right.
But I can definitely do it again. So
Yeah,
this
no
time I'm
doubt.
doing it in front of a live audience. So if I mess up, I can't edit it. But,
Right.
glad to have everybody listening. And I know one thing, you mentioned loving the Billies. I know there's one thing you don't love, and that's losing.
Yeah.
And you guys, unfortunately, lost last week. Faced the tough Lampasas team, and they just put up a little more points than y'all did. And, talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah, we did. Certainly bad taste in your mouth, and hope that we get to maybe avenge that bad taste, if you will. And so hopefully you'll turn it into something positive. You and I talked all year. We talked on the podcast about this as well. You can't let a win or a loss affect what happens next week.
Right.
And so you can't get too high when you win or too low when you lose or whatever. But certainly you can use some emotions, right? In football, I heard a quote this week that said, it's a game of emotions, but you can't get emotional, right? And so you can't get emotional about it. You've got to learn from it. You got to get better. And you can have a little bit of, a bad taste in your mouth, and you want to get that bad taste out by winning. So we've talked a couple of times about, when you win, everything tastes better on Saturday, and everything's better on Sunday, and it's always, a lot better when you win. So certainly that's the way we approach it. And I think probably the biggest character defect most of us as coaches have is that we hate losing more than we love winning, right? And and that's a distinction. Everybody loves to win, right? But the big question is, how much do you hate losing? And if you hate losing enough, then you're going to continue to work to get better and do all those things. So it's a tough deal. We talked in the podcast, kind of had the game in control. We felt like at halftime we were able to ball control them. It's great having Jesse back. Second play from scrimmage, he breaks one.
Just lightning that kid.
Stiff arms a guy in the secondary, and he's off.
I got a great picture of that, by the way.
You do, and so that's kind of why I mentioned that, right? But great to have him back. Our O-line's opening up big holes. We're moving the ball. We scored 14 quick. Then they roar back and score 14, and then we pull away, get a field goal, and they're able to pull away and have an 11-point lead. Is that right? 28-17? Yeah, it was 11 points at halftime. And, we're feeling pretty good about that, right? Because we're in good shape. We've kind of ball controlled them. It's not the shootout that we had thought that Lampasas wanted it to be. And then, we come out of the second half and we don't really execute the way we want to on offense first series, and defense does their job, gets the ball back for us. We're going to try to work the clock and get down the field and go score again and widen the gap a little bit. And we have a couple of miscues, and next thing you know, we're punting, and then they score to make it a 4-point game, and then now it's a shootout the rest of the game. And like we talked about in the podcast, really proud of our kids and our coaches for the way they responded to that.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those moments.
Y'all didn't quit.
No, we never quit, and we just kept making adjustments that kept getting us back in the game, right? And we just kept doing things that, they would do something, and then we had to do something, and then it was just back and forth, and all the way down the wire until it's a 10-point game twice with less than 6 minutes. And we go score to make it a 3-point game and go for the onside kick.
Yeah.
Then they score again. It's a 10-point game again. We go score again, make it a 3-point game, go for the onside kick. I mean, it's just crazy in terms of answering what they were doing. And so really proud of our team for that. Certainly, we got to get better in the passing game portion of our defense for sure. They threw for a bunch of yards. The quarterback, he was a good quarterback. We knew that. They had good receivers. Lampasas is a quality football program. We knew that going in.
Who knows how to put up a lot of points?
Certainly, that's what they've been known for the last few years. Coach Rogers runs that high-powered offense, and they did a good job of it in the second half. So we certainly had to fix that. But amongst all of that, there's always things you can correct, and always things that you got to get better at, and there's things that you can enhance that you did really well. And so I think our ability to answer and not quit speaks to the character of our team, our coaches, and the fact that we didn't doubt that we were going to have a chance to win that game all the way down to the end. And so and that's a good quality to have for sure. We certainly didn't want to lose. It's a tough deal for seniors playing their last home game. there's, if you go on a playoff run and maybe you have a chance to flip home and home or something like that, then maybe you'll get to play at home. But really, that's their last home game. So, certainly they don't want to lose that game. And so, it's our job now to put that behind us and move on with the playoffs. And we knew that going in, that we were in the playoffs. We knew the seeding, was a factor. We knew that, the other teams had to do things, and whatever happened. And so we just wanted to see where we were and try to do our best job to win that game. And we didn't get it done, so, we got to move on. Just like you said earlier, you got to let go of that one and move on to the next one.
Absolutely, and kind of getting into before we move on from that game, talking about the highs and lows of that game. You mentioned something you said. You mentioned hating to lose, and I know that's something you've talked about. But if there's an individual in that program that hates losing more than you, it might be Cole Immel.
Oh, no question.
And Cole Immel had a great game, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns.
No,
him and Kadienski connected late to keep in your second bullet point, and y'all coming back and getting in the game. When you have a kid who's that big of a leader and just hates to lose more than he likes to win, how much can that drive an offense?
It is. It drives him in everything he does. That's how he plays baseball. That's how he plays basketball. That's how he used to run track. That's how. That's just in his nature, right? To do that, and that's when you play that position. Ironically, he wants to be a coach. His dad was a coach. He wants to be a coach when he's done with college, and so I think that's a good quality to have as a coach. And as a player, and your quarterbacks, are the guys that need to have that, so that they can, promote that with the rest of the group and understand that. And it's cool. It's a cool relationship that we have, him and I. Every year I meet with the quarterback at the beginning of the season, and I say, look, this is on us, right? Me and you are the ones who are in front of the team, and when it goes wrong, it's our fault, and when it goes right, it's everybody else's fault. And for a 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid, about to be 18, whatever, for him to be able to take on that responsibility, it's just a huge thing. And we've talked a little bit about how, from a mechanical standpoint, fundamental standpoint, everything's slowed down for him. So the game is moving a lot slower for him, and so he's able to make better decisions and see what happens and get us out of plays and do all the things you want a quarterback to do. But from a leadership perspective, just for him to be able to understand that, it's his responsibility to get it done, and so when you're in that position, I think a head basketball coach, a head baseball coach, a quarterback, a point guard in basketball, whatever metaphor or whatever, you want to use as an example, you have to hate losing more than you are winning, because you have to be able to do whatever it takes to not put yourself in that position to lose. And Cole certainly has that. And I, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of him. He's just a stellar leader and teammate. And he does everything we ask him to do, and he leads that whole group. And he's surrounded with some great players as well, and some other great leaders that are captains. So
absolutely.
So yeah, shout out to him for that, and appreciate the way he did it. And I'm glad he had a great game last week for sure.
And then, of course, when you talk about the highs, you also have to talk about the lows. Coming out of that Lampasas game, you mentioned the passing defense. What areas as a coaching staff, did y'all identify as things y'all are going to have to fix to beat the Somerset Bulldogs?
Yeah, we're just going to have to cover better, on the deep balls, and we're going to have to get pressure on the quarterback. I think that was the big thing. Was we Lampasas' O-line was pretty good, and they were able to kind of limit some of the pressure that we've been able to get on some of the other quarterbacks that we played. And when you can get pressure on the quarterback, then that makes it a lot harder for the receivers to get open, and to get, playing defensive back in the modern game of football is the hardest job there is on the field, because you can't cover those guys for very long.
Especially when they're great athletes.
And so, no matter what you do, if the quarterback has 3 to 5 to 6 seconds to be able to, make a decision and keep a guy in coverage or whatever. And so certainly, we've got to shore that up. We gave up some big run plays too. So, we've got to do a better job of getting lined up, reading our keys, and doing our job. Certainly, it's a complementary game. We got to do a better job on offense of keeping their offense off the field as well. So it complements each other. If your defense keeps having to go back out there, and in this case, when you're in a shootout, you keep going back, and so you just, it's kind of a deal where you got to get to a point where you score more, or you give up less, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't be more proud of our defense and the fact that they've improved in that all year. Those secondary guys, Coach Wilder's done a good job, and they are much better in Week 10 than they were at the beginning of the season for sure.
Yeah.
At the beginning of district season, they're much better. So they've improved a lot. We just played a really good team last week that executed really well and did a really good job in the passing game. And, a couple of times we just got turned the wrong direction, or we're right there covering them, or we get a pass interference penalty, or whatever, And so some of that stuff is just part of playing the passing game. And so, we got to fix those things. And we talked on the podcast, our defense has been solid all year. And has kept us in ball games and put us in ball games and helped us win games and committing turnovers and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of got that bad taste in their mouth.
Absolutely.
From giving up points and giving up yards last week. And so, I think that's probably the most important thing, is that we got to take that energy from that and turn it into something positive and be better this week at stopping the run. Because we're going to talk about Somerset, but they're certainly a good offense for sure.
Absolutely, led by a good quarterback. But
Yep.
we're going to take a quick break here. We got people shopping here at Barefoot, and thank you to Barefoot for hosting us. My first time in this store, and it's a
it's a great place.
Store,
This is a 10-year relationship with Barefoot. They brought this to us, this idea to start Coffee with Coach in 2012. Was the first year we did it. It's been great. They've been a great supporter of us. We got on our playoff swag, right? They made these T-shirts. We had a portal open last week. All our fans were able to buy these and get their playoff T-shirts. So it's a good partnership for us with Barefoot and doing the show and supporting Billy Boosters and doing all the things they do. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after a short break here at Barefoot.
72 Degrees Air Conditioning and Heating offers a wide variety of services to Fredericksburg and the Hill Country. Repairs, installation, maintenance, design, even air quality control for allergies. 72 Degrees Air Conditioning and Heating, Fredericksburg's comfort company. Fast, same-day service and world-class technicians make 72 Degrees Fredericksburg's company of choice. Emergency service 24/7. Call 830-997-5651. 72degreestexas.com. License number TACLB 27138E.
Strayer and Ulfers, from humble beginnings to a Fredericksburg mainstay. When Edgar Strayer purchased an oil and gas business in 1928, he may not have envisioned it would still thrive nearly a century later. Guiding through the Great Depression, he built a clientele of area farmers with a firm handshake and friendly service. 2 succeeding generations still run the business. Roy Strayer and his sister Betty are mainstays around their shop on Adams Street, where their sons Steve, Charles, and Edward service the needs of thousands of locals and visitors alike. Strayer and Ulfers, a Fredericksburg institution.
For over 7 decades, and with the support of customers like you, Ewald Kubota has grown to be the #1 Kubota volume dealer in the United States. Plus, we have the distinct honor of being a Kubota Elite dealer. So thank you, Jim, Julio, Jamar, Mr. Loya, Mike, Letty, Mr. Rodriguez, Paul and Penny, Thomas and Catherine, Mr. Miranda. From the Gulf of Mexico to the Hill Country of Texas, Ewald Kubota is your Kubota dealer.
Hill Country Refrigeration has been providing the Texas Hill Country with quality heat and air conditioning service, installation, and repair for 47 years. They offer dependable, friendly, and professional customer service. Robert and Clara Ann Almers founded Hill Country Refrigeration in 1974, but have been enjoying Battlin Billie Sports for a lifetime. The Almers family are born and raised Billy fans. 4 generations, that is. Hill Country Refrigeration, where customizing comfort is their award-winning game. From one winning team to another, best of luck, Billies.
We love living in the country. My husband works from home, and I teach our 5 youngest children here as well. Fast, uncapped, reliable internet is critical for our family. And that's exactly what we've gotten from BiDistrict for over 10 years now. BiDistrict Communications. Always on, high-speed internet.
Barefoot's is making money and the Billies are making moves. I was thinking about that during the break. I wanted to say that.
No, that's good. That's pretty solid. Billies are making moves.
Just we're having a little bit of issues with audio for what Paige is telling me, but so bear with us. We're gonna power through it. But you finished third in district following the loss, and I know that wasn't where you had initially planned. Especially, I mean, Austin LBJ was gonna be tough to top.
Yeah. Sure.
But you and I talked. You liked getting second or third at maybe y'all's positioning to do something that hasn't been done for Billies football, and that's win a couple rounds.
Yeah.
But when you look at how the district has done, I mean, obviously Canyon Lake matched up with Bernie, and I think this speaks to the strength of the district, and that Canyon Lake gave Bernie the number 1 seed, pretty much all they could handle.
No question. I mean, they took them down to the wire. We watched them that game last night. We hosted 2 6-man playoff games at our place. Shout out to Coach Wilder, Christy Moore, Justin Timms, Chad Flick, Carlos De La Cerda, and all of our staff that helps run a game, because they were willing to give up their Thursday night to host some teams from abroad, if you will. We hosted Lakey versus Jonesboro at 5:30, and then we hosted Medina versus Loretta at 7:30, or at 5 and 7:30, and it was a cool deal. But we had the Canyon Lake Bernie game in on the computers in the office while the games were going on. He took them down to the wire, 21-7 at halftime, and played really well. Bernie did what Bernie does. You know, they kind of put it in the hands of Rashawn Galloway, who's an exceptional player.
Absolutely. Just signed to play baseball at both of our alma mater, Texas State.
That's correct. And he, anyway, he kind of took over the game in the second half, and Canyon Lake battled, and I mean, they had the ball with, less than 30 seconds left in the red zone. Try to score it and tie it, or score it and go for 2 to win it, or whatever. And they threw a pick right at the end of the game. I think it was less than 10 seconds left on the clock. And so, it was a great testament to our district. Our district is tough, top to bottom. Certainly, LBJ, number 1 team in the state, all the talent they have, all the things that Coach Federer's done over there. I don't think anybody thought that anybody was going to win district except them. That's the way it was picked at the beginning of the season. Everybody expected them to be the top dog in the district, and that certainly is what happened. But you're glad to be in the playoffs. But what I've learned from our other sport coaches in the entire time I've been here is that where you are in the bracket matters. And we a couple of years, we went in as a 4th place team, and we had to play similar to whoever had to play La Vega. I mean, LBJ, we had to play Waco La Vega 2 years in a row, first round of the playoffs.
That's tough.
And so, one of those years they won state. So
you could be the Longhorns who just have to try and go and beat Shiner.
Yeah, no question. And so there's something to be said for that. It matters. Certainly, you're grateful to be in the playoffs. You're glad your team's in the playoffs. But how the bracket sets up is part of it too. Certainly, any team in the playoffs is good. I told the kids that last week. Everybody in the playoffs is good. That's the deal. You're not in the playoffs if you're not good. And so it's a single elimination tournament, and if you don't win, you don't get to move on. So we got to take care of that. But yeah, that's kind of the way it went down. But anyway, so yeah, that's where we are. So we finished 3rd. Lampasas was 2nd, and Canyon Lake was 4th. So that's the way it worked out.
Yeah, and like I had mentioned a couple minutes ago, you had talked about, and you and I talked about on the podcast and just talking, the getting 2nd or 3rd. You liked how that played up and how some of the teams that we're going to face, and we'll get into who y'all are facing pretty quick. But I'm sure that you're pleased with where y'all ended up in the standings, and you have to like your chances. But even if you had finished 4th and you had faced a Bernie, I'm sure y'all were confident.
No question. I mean, we told the kids when we lost to Bernie, and we told the kids when we lost to LBJ that if everything goes like we want and things work out the way we want, we're making a shot at both of them down the road. I mean, that's you have to have those aspirations. Something that we talked about. We're reading this book called Win in the Dark, and I've mentioned it several times. But one of the biggest things about it is you burn your goals. Because goals are unattainable, right?
Yeah.
And so you burn your goals and you quit worrying about something that's up here, and you concentrate on today. But it's also important that you have aspirations to do something. And so, when you lose to LBJ, we want to try to play them again. If we play LBJ again, it's going to be in the regional finals, right?
Which would be awesome if we got.
And so that's what we want to do, and watching our other sports play, girls basketball lost in the regional finals last year to Bernie, who was out of our district.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and we've done that in other sports. And
volleyball had success.
Volleyball is in the regional. Volleyball is in the regional semifinals, regional quarterfinals this week, and they lose to Wimberley, the team out of our district. So that's the mindset that you have, is that you want to have that aspiration, and then you got to take care of today, and then tomorrow, and this week. And if you take care of this, then it'll have a chance to put you in position to do that thing that you maybe thought you wanted to do. So that's kind of our mindset on it. That's where we are. I mean, right now, this whole week, we're focused on Somerset. That's the deal. We're on Somerset. We thought we'd match up with Somerset or Pleasanton. And,
both good teams.
Both exceptional teams. We'll talk about them in length. But, so that's where we are, and that's the way it worked out. So far, Canyon Lake lost to Bernie last night in a tough game, and had a chance to beat them, and then everybody else plays tonight. So we'll see what that looks like.
Let's brag on some of your kids.
Yeah, sure.
Players of the week, who you got?
Yeah, Players of the Week for Lampasas. Always love doing this. JV Players of the Week, Reed Speeds and Giovanni Boros. Both great kids that play really hard for us. Got bright futures in our program. That's the point of being on the JV, is that you get to play the game of football. You only get better at football by playing.
Right.
They played really well. They were able to beat Lampasas last week, and take care of that on the road. Tough place to play on the road. They had a great game. Finished their year 7-3. Could be more proud of the JV for their season and what they did, and ready for those kids to be ready to step in and be part of the Billy program on varsity. And our 9th grade Players of the Week, Elijah Corey and Tristan King. Again, two great young men who work really hard and are just exceptional young men that are going to develop into really good football players if they'll trust the process and stick with us and work at it. But they both had a great game last week in Lampasas as well. And our Scout Team Player of the Week, Kaiser Ottmers, another kid off of our leadership council who has kind of come into himself as a player this year. He was a hard-nosed, likes to hit. He's kind of tough, and he likes to hit. And really this year he developed as a player, and just has done a great job for us, and gives us a great look on Scout Team every week. And then our varsity Goats of the Week, I wanted to do this 2 weeks ago, but I gave it to Quattro last week because Quattro is an amazing kid, does some great things in the community. But these two guys, Mason Ray and Derek Whitworth, when we played Taylor, we ran a play, and Stephen Wade ran over the official, and the official hit the ground.
It didn't look good.
And
I was scared.
I thought we might be calling the ambulance in, right? Because the first thing I saw was his head hitting the ground. And so I was very concerned at that moment. The stadium got really quiet. But here you see Mason Ray reach in to help pull the official up, and you see Derek Whitworth kind of put his hands out to keep the rest of the players away from the official while Mason was pulling him up. And so, those are the things that I want our kids to be about, is how they treat people. One of the things in my book is called true mental toughness. And one of the components of true mental toughness is treat people really, really, really well. And we've been preaching that to them all year. And to see that happen in a game, especially when their coach is probably not always treating the officials really well, right? But to see them have that concern and just do naturally. I mean, it wasn't, and certainly it's nothing that we've taught them or whatever. That comes from their parents and how our community raises their kids and all the things. But to see them do that, you want to recognize that, because that's a thing that probably haven't been able to see that happen. Right? And people watching on Billies.Live or live streaming or whatever probably didn't even know that happened. But all of us as coaches, we saw that. And we talked about it on Saturday. I was like, man, that's unbelievable. I mean, it's not unbelievable, certainly, because that's who they are as people, but it's an unbelievable reflection of who they are as people and what I want our team to be about. And so that's why they got that. And proud of all these kids. You and I talked on the podcast about the roster. We've increased the roster up to we added about 27 kids. Anybody on JV had an opportunity to travel with us. They had to come to practice every day this week. And then we picked 4 freshmen that we wanted either positionally. One of them's a kicker, and so we wanted to see what he could do, and maybe push our kicker a little bit and see if he could do some things similar to what Giovanni can do. and then the other 3 guys we needed for specific positions on scout team. And so we've added about 27 kids to the roster. Takes us up to about 60, 65 to 60. I don't know exactly how many kids it is, but 57 or so. But there's a bigger roster. We're taking another bus. We're bringing those kids. And, I told them yesterday, it's y'all's job to be the juice squad, right? They got to bring the juice on the sideline, right? They got to bring the enthusiasm, the attitude, the juice on the sideline, and that's their job. And then the other part is for them to experience the playoffs and want to go back to the playoffs, so that when they go into off season, whenever this is over, that they want to go to work so they can go do it again. And so and these guys, all these guys I mentioned are in that group, and we appreciate them for their hard work.
Absolutely. Well, up next, we're going to dive deep into the Somerset Bulldogs. Get ready for tonight's game. Can't wait for it. But be right back here at Coffee with Coach at Barefoot.
Gaddy's Pizza in Fredericksburg is a huge supporter of Battlin Billie Sports, students, and teachers. In fact, Gaddy's offers a lunch special for teachers and students Monday through Friday for only $7.65, and that includes a drink. Gaddy's Pizza also has pasta, dessert, and one of the best salad bars in town. Enjoy the game room. Kids of all ages love it. Gaddy's takes pizza seriously. 2931 Highway 16 South in Fredericksburg. Billy Pride Iberales.
Segner's is your jewelry destination for everyday and special occasion jewelry. Just ask Olympic gold medalist in women's softball, Kat Osterman. She trusts Segner's. Find us at 236 West Main Street or on the web at segnersjewelers.com. Come check out our custom-designed Billy's Charms.
This broadcast is supported by Votive Hospice, a family-owned hospice founded by Fredericksburg natives. Votive Hospice is Fredericksburg's only Joint Commission-accredited hospice. They're also Fredericksburg's first community-based palliative care, which means their team can help you or your loved one prior to needing hospice at no cost to you or your family. Votive is led by Dr. Rad Kothman and certified hospice and palliative care nurse Carrie Weaver. Visit votivehospice.com or call 998-1925. Votive Hospice, they're with you.
Hello, my name is Greg Nebgen with 4N Cattle Company. I want to talk to you a little bit about J4 Trailer and my experience. So I was looking for a new cattle trailer, stopped by, talked to Josh, customized what I wanted. I own a local business. I want to do my business local. Prices were very competitive. I looked at trailers everywhere. They were $1,000 cheaper, if not more. I was going to buy local anyway. They beat everybody in price. And then they even delivered it. J4 Trailer, that's where I got mine.
Texas Hill Country Orthopedic, the official sports medicine provider of the Battlin Billies. Our board-certified and fellowship-trained doctors provide personalized and comprehensive bone and joint care for all ages. We utilize the latest technologies like platelet-rich plasma treatments, and also unique to the Hill Country, we offer anterior hip replacement. Whether you've suffered a traumatic injury to your shoulder or are just tired of dealing with arthritis pain in your knees, Texas Hill Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is here to help.
My name is Tammy, and I am a Value Med customer. The things that I love the most are the convenience, the speed, and the friendliness. Annette and Betty at the front window are always so friendly. I have called Bill, even Matt, for just personal questions regarding prescriptions or medication. Their helpfulness, willingness to spend the time with me is something you don't get at the larger pharmacies. I just think they are amazing.
Security State Bank and Trust. We've been building the communities we call home since 1941. That includes supporting our students, teachers, and schools. Behind each student is a community investing in what matters most. Security State Bank and Trust, proud supporters of Battlin Billie Sports. We're rooting for your success on and off the field. Go Billies! Celebrating our 80th year of helping build the communities we call home. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Dutchman's Meat Market in Fredericksburg is the place for premium meats. Not only can you find the best cuts of meat, but Dutchman's has fresh sandwiches for lunch, a variety of snack sticks, multiple jerkies, and dried sausage. Dutchman's also has a large assortment of rubs, spices, and sauces for all your meats. So go see Dutchman's at 1609 East Main in Fredericksburg, or call in an order at 830-997-5693 or online at dutchmansmarket.com.
Coffee with Coach. Tongue twister with TexasRadio.net and Billies.Live is back, and
We're back.
Tongue twister on my first show, but that's not uncommon.
You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. We're about to dive deep into the matchup between the Somerset Bulldogs and your Battlin Billies. But first, let's talk about when we first started getting ready for this game. You'd text me and you'd say, "Hey, we're going to be playing at Judson at DW Rutledge." And then the next day, I talked to yourself and I talked to Paige. We're going to SA Piper Stadium, brand spanking new. We're excited about it. Right. And then the very next day, we're going back to Judson. And what happened there?
Right. So much ado about playoff arrangements, right? So there's kind of no standard template for how you do it. It's all about the two coaches, the two communities, the two athletic directors agreeing to all the details.
Yeah.
You want to try to be as neutral as possible. What's made it hard in football is 5As and 6As now have a UIL rule that says the top 2 seeds get to play at home and the bottom 2 seeds have to travel. So what that does is that occupies all of the stadiums that are played by 5 and 6A teams, because their first and second place team have to play at home Thursday through Saturday at their stadium. And of course, most of us want to play our game on Friday because we've been playing the whole season on Friday.
Right.
So anyway, having said all that, once we knew the seeding, once we knew the result of last Friday night's game, got inside, got in touch with the coaches from Somerset. Weren't sure about where we were going to go or whatever, but we reached out. We were kind of on the list at Judson. Weren't sure they wanted to play on Thursday night at somewhere else, and I didn't really want to play on Thursday night. And so we kind of talked our way through all that. And then once we knew that Judson was available, we agreed immediately to play Judson. And then we had known through the coaching network that Piper might be available as well. I had talked to the Canyon Lake coaches, and they had mentioned that they were probably going to play there if they had to play Birmingham or whatever. And so I didn't think it was available. And then, as you mentioned, we drove to the state cross-country meet Saturday morning, and I get a text from the coach at Piper saying, "Hey, nobody's playing here Friday night." And so, geographically, I looked at it. Judson is about 20 miles further from here and 20 miles further from Somerset. So I pitched it to him and said, "Hey, this stadium's available. It's brand new school. It's a beautiful campus. It's a beautiful stadium. It's very similar to Smithson Valley.
Kind of like Davenport, where I was last night.
Right, for the Harper game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice stadium. It's got new turf, got new lights, the whole thing. And so I thought, well, we're proceeding through this bond process that we're working on as a district, and this is a brand new high school and a brand new facility, and so maybe our community needs to see some of this stuff to see what it looks like, and so that was part of it, and they agreed because it was closer. It was much closer for them. It was much closer for us, and then everything's fine. We're set to go. We're ready to do. We told everybody, sent it out publicly. Here we go, and then. Monday afternoon, my heart stopped because I get a text from the coach at Piper saying, "Sorry, coach, we can't host y'all Friday night." I'm like, "What?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? What do you mean I literally, when you do this, you sign a contract with the different entities. You sign a playoff agreement. Both schools agree to the officials and the start time and who the home team is, and who you agree to all that stuff. If you don't agree, then you flip a coin, or you flip a coin over the phone. You pick odd or even from a zip code of cities or whatever. There's a method to flip a coin over the phone. Many years of doing playoff arrangements. So you do all that, and then you sign a contract, and that's what you do. And so I'm like, hold on, it's Monday afternoon. Like, what do you mean?
Not even Monday morning.
No, it was like 5 o'clock. It was after 5 on Monday because I was getting ready to go to the school board meeting. I freaked out. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so, luckily, we were very fortunate. Both of us reached back out to Judson and found out that they didn't choose to host anyone else, or no one else was going to play there on Friday night. And so, Coach Corrales, their AD, was very helpful in saying, "Yeah, we'll host you guys." And so we were able to move it. Otherwise, we're going to have to probably play on Thursday or Saturday. Like Somerset's like, "Well, you want to play Thursday? You want to play Saturday?" And I'm like, "I don't want to play either." Like we agreed to play on Friday. So that's kind of how all that went down. What we found out later was those big stadiums. Comal ISD, the Broncos Canyon was hosting a playoff game Friday night. Davenport's hosting a playoff game Friday night, and Smithson Valley's hosting a playoff game Friday night. So our game would have been the 4th playoff game to host, and to have security for those games, they have to have so many officers at each site. And so the county sheriff, working with the Comal ISD security department, they didn't have enough people to do all of it.
Well, didn't they also have officers going to Worst Fest?
Well, they have Worst Fest going on as well, and so that was their reason behind it. You certainly, at that point, you don't really care about their reason, right? It's like, what? You're doing this to us, what? So anyway, that's kind of how that all went down. And so we were able to get it, and D.W. Rutledge Stadium is an amazing stadium that, we're able to, play and play at a nice place and all that stuff. So it'll be good either way. But that's how the arrangements went down. We flipped to be the home or visitors, and we lost a flip, so they're the home team, we're the visitors. And then from there, we just agreed that we didn't want San Antonio officials, because that's who they use, and they didn't want Austin officials because that's who we use. And so we agreed to get Houston officials, so we're having officials from Houston. And then, other than that, there's really the other details are just how much the tickets cost and all that kind of stuff. So we worked all those out, and that's part of the deal. And it's really fun for me to get to do it when it's the football team, right? I get to be party to that for volleyball and for basketball and for baseball and for softball and all that. But for me, it's a lot more fun when it's football.
Absolutely.
We're talking about
and
football.
It's playoff football too.
Yeah, so it was a great weekend for me in terms of getting to do all that stuff, because that's something that
Monday
I like to
afternoon
do.
maybe not so great.
Yeah, Monday afternoon, I'm a little scared, but we're all good. So yeah.
Well, and as someone who's from the San Antonio area, Rutledge Stadium is a historic stadium, so it's still going to be cool to play football there. But you're going to have to take on a good Somerset football team, 8-2 out of that district, and second behind Bernie. We talked about them a little bit on the podcast, but we didn't talk about them in quite as depth as I think we're going to here. Anyone that knows Somerset football knows that the name Detmer kind of goes hand in hand with it, and that rings true with the team. Coy Detmer, a former NFL and Heisman winning quarterback, is the coach there. His son Cole is a senior quarterback, and why don't we start there?
Yeah,
look at the Bulldogs.
Yeah, so first of all, that's the thing. The Detmers have been part of that program forever. Sonny, dad, passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace. Exceptional coach, legend in coaching. Coached at Mission. Both the boys played at Mission. They've settled kind of it in Somerset and have just done an amazing job. We were able to play them in 2013 as well. Sonny was still coaching them. Coy was the OC. And so Coy came back to replace his dad as the head coach when he passed away. And so it's kind of been a cool deal. Back then, Coy Jr. was the quarterback. Now it's Cole, the quarterback, and Coy's calling the offense and the head coach. So yeah, that stands out more than anything. And then, just to talk about Cole, he's a Detmer, so he understands the position of quarterback. It's almost like they're genetically predisposed to, be great quarterbacks, and he does the same things that the other ones do. He understands the offense. They just do a really good job. And so that's the first thing you notice. Second thing you notice, they're really big on both sides of the ball up front. Got big kids that get after it, play really hard, and they run a pro style offense. We talked about this on the podcast, which I really like. That's kind of how I became an offensive coordinator, was running a pro style offense in the early or mid to late 90s, and so kind of understand the offense a little bit, but it's nice to see it. You don't see it as much anymore as you did back then.
And for someone who may not understand why it's unique, why is a pro style offense kind of considered old school, and what makes it different from, say, what y'all run more of a spread? But
we do. So the whole philosophy change in football was that it's mostly about the tight end. They're going to have a tight end on almost every single play, and they're going to have two backs in the backfield almost every single play, and sometimes they're going to be under center, which in the spread offense, the big philosophy shift in football was two things. One, football coaches wanted to get basketball kids back to playing football, right? That's just a real thing. A lot of kids football is hard, it's dangerous, all that stuff, so kids were kind of
blame Antonio Gates for that.
Migrating away from football, right? And so you want to bring kids back, and kids want to play football. They want to touch the ball, right? They want to touch the ball. They want to catch the ball. They want to score touchdowns. Every kid that's ever thought about playing football as a little kid wants to be the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a philosophy shift in it. It was a pro-style offense is more of a hard-nosed, 3 to 4 yards of play, throw it on third down, kind of the old, I always liken it to the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s and 90s, with a big fullback
Montana,
and an eye, and Joe Montana and Steve Young and Bill Walsh running it and all that stuff. So that's kind of a pro-style offense to me. Certainly Coy is exceptionally smart as an offensive coordinator. He has adapted it to the modern game. So they're still going to spread you out. They're still going to motion you. They're still going to shift. They're going to try to move around and get you looking at what we call in football eyewash, guys moving around and not paying attention to what you're supposed to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then boom, they're going to hit you right there. And of course, Cole is exceptional at throwing the ball. I mean, he can throw the ball, on a rope and put it anywhere that he needs to put it. And so they're going to run the ball, and then they're going to throw it real quick and get a guy in space and do some things. So they kind of have a blend of it. We would call it a pro style because of the tight end, because of the two-back set, and because of the big linemen, they come off and they do some pulling, and they do some of the more traditional pro style plays.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of what that looks like. They do a really good job of it. And then defensively, they're big up front. They got good linebackers, good secondary, and they do a lot of movement on defense, which that typically gives an offense trouble. What they're trying to accomplish, we think, is they're trying to mess up our blocking assignments because they're trying to move either pre-snap or post-snap or whatever. Somebody's going to move. So this guy may be lined up here, and so my blocking assignment says I'm going to step into this gap and block this guy. But when I do that, he's going to be gone, and somebody's going to be coming around. And so it's kind of a way for them to get somebody free. And you see it on their film. You watch their film, all of a sudden, some guy comes free and makes a tackle in the backfield. So those are the things they do. They do it really well. And then in the third portion of the game, the special teams, one thing that I noticed as a special teams coordinator is they spend a lot of time on special teams, and they are schematically as elaborate as any team we've played and most teams I've seen, because they have a different scheme to do all of their special team games against their opponent's strengths and weaknesses. So sometimes, for instance, on the kickoff return team, sometimes they might line up in a 5-3-3 look, which is just a formation, and then sometimes they'll line up in a 5-2-2-2. It's just about how they line up, but they do it based on what they think they're going to try to exploit or what your weakness is or whatever. And so they do a really good job of coaching in all aspects of the ball, and they're a good team. They're not 8-2.
Yeah,
and because they're bad, right? I mean, they're 8-2 because they're good. They're big, and they play hard, and they get after it. They've got great skilled kids. They've got skilled kids at every position. They've got skilled kids that return punts and return kickoffs, and so they're a solid football program. And they're going to give us a great challenge tonight for sure.
And you talked about how on both sides of the ball they're going to do a lot of mismatch, and they're going to give you a lot of things to look at, and you need to figure out what. Yeah. So when you're facing a team that gives you this many different looks and there's so many moving parts, how important, and again, coaches love to talk about reading your keys, but when you're facing a team that does that type of movement, how important does that become?
It becomes very important, and it becomes very important for us to coach well, and I think our coaches have coached really well this week. They've analyzed all the different looks. They've looked at all the different film. That's another thing we need to talk about, the arrangements, right? In district, we trade film every week on Tuesday with our opponent.
Yeah,
that's a rule. That's a district rule. It's written in the policy. For the playoffs, the only rule is the UIL says you have to trade video with your playoff opponent, and they said if your opponent wants all of your games, then you have to trade them. So we agreed to trade 4 games because they played 4 district ball games and we played 5. So we traded our last 3 plus last week. Right, they played Uvalde and we played Lampasas. So our coaches did a great job of analyzing the film, and I think the biggest thing to combat that is just to take all of our rules and all of our schemes and all of our reads and alignments and all those things and just apply it to what they're doing. And that's what Coach Wilder and Coach Huff and Coach Gibbs and Coach Dietrich and all those guys do every Saturday. They spend all day on Saturday and most of the day on Sunday after church looking at all the different formations they do and applying what we do to it, and then picking out the best way to do it. And so I think they've done that. I think they've done a good job of that. I think that something that sets us apart on defense is I think that Logan and Gary are exceptionally smart.
Absolutely.
They're exceptionally smart.
Mhm.
They're certainly tough and knock your head off and competing for tackles and all that stuff. But they're both really, really, really smart at football. And so they can get our defense aligned like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's something that they've worked really hard on the defensive side of the ball. And then I think the same way we alluded to Cole, the offensive line is amazingly smart this year as well.
They've had a great year.
And so but part of it is because Derek and Rusty and Sam and Clayton and Yordy are all really smart football players as well, and they can see the adjustments as they're happening. And they come over and they tell Coach Timms, well, they're doing this, and so we need to do that. And so when you can do those things and you apply the scheme to it, then you got a chance. And that's how you have to combat that, is you have to stick to your fundamentals, you have to stick to your basics, and do what you do well, and then see how it matches up to what they're going to try to do to combat it. And then the other thing that factors in is the first 10 plays of the ball game, we are all trying to absorb as much as we can, trying to figure out what they're trying to do. Okay, what are they trying to do different that they think is going to work against us?
Yeah.
And so that's the chess match part of it that I think all of us as coaches, I mean, I love that. That's the part I love. And coaches, God, we get so tired because all we want to do is watch football, right?
Yeah.
Like we do all our coaching for our team and whatever, and then I go home on Saturday and I'm watching college games and I'm analyzing plays, going, man, we need to look at that. That's like this or that's like that. And then you watch it on Sunday too. It's the same thing. It's like, oh well, they're doing the same thing we do, or they're doing the same thing Bernie did, or they're doing. And so we're just kind of knowledge junkies on football, right?
Yeah.
We just want to absorb as much of it as we can and try to figure it out. And so that's how you compete against people that do stuff like this. And you hope it works. You hope your kids buy into it, and you hope and then you apply the other factor of they've got to be able to do fundamentally sound things. We got to be able to tackle. We got to be able to knock the ball out and get turnovers. We got to be able to stay on our blocks, and we got to be able to, catch the football, and we got to be able to, you got to be able to do all the fundamental stuff too, while you're applying the scheme to what it is you're trying to do. And the same thing in the kicking game. We got to kick it well. Got to put it where we want to put it on kickoff. We got to be able to punt it directionally wherever we want to punt it if we have to punt. And so you apply all those things. And that's how you win a game. And hopefully we can do that and see what happens.
Well, I want to hear your keys to victory, but we got to get to a break real quick.
Yeah.
And we'll do one last break, and then we'll wrap it up with talking about your keys to victory, how we think it's going to go, and we'll talk about some other Billy sports. But
you bet.
Be right back here at Barefoot with Coffee.
As Fredericksburg celebrates 175 years, Arrowhead Bank is celebrating almost 100 years of serving the people of the Texas Hill Country. Our goal has been the same since we opened in Fredericksburg 20 years ago, to combine the relationship banking of yesterday with the technology of today for a better brand of banking. Arrowhead Bank is proud to support our students in all their endeavors, athletic and academic, and we're excited to celebrate their successes this year. Billy Pride, Eber Alice, member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS number 423091.
Fredericksburg Veterinary Center takes care of animals of all sizes, little bitty small ones and great big tall ones. They'll treat your furry friends just like it was their own. Doctors East and Eckert can do all sorts of stuff to help them, like x-rays and blood work, surgeries and sonograms. They'll even work on their teeth. And if your animal is sick or something, they'll even go to your ranch or house to help them. Give them a call or visit them online at fbgvetcenter.com.
At Fredericksburg Eye Associates, ophthalmologist Drs. Ann Plinicky and Charles Cohn provide comprehensive medical and surgical eye care. At their state-of-the-art facility off Highway 87, they use the latest equipment for everything from routine eye exams to monitoring macular degeneration. Cataract procedures include the latest advances in lens design, allowing more freedom from glasses than ever before. Fredericksburg Eye Associates, 997-6535, online at fbgi.com.
DR Welding and Construction is the Texas Hill Country's choice for metal buildings using #1 American-made materials. They are fully insured for your protection and peace of mind. If you're in need of a metal building, a horse barn, airplane hangar, warehouse, equipment shed, barn dominium, or a business, DR Welding and Construction, 830-997-1058. On the web, drweldinginc.com. Quality and craftsmanship make the difference at DR Welding and Construction.
Do you have a good head coach to draw up a play for your retirement plan? Have you done the practice drills necessary to produce a good portfolio? If not, contact Joseph Financial Partners. They will sit you down in front of the chalkboard and walk you through all the X's and O's. They'll set up your offense and your defense so you're prepared for the good days and the bad days. If you're not sure about your coach or the plays that you're running, contact Joseph Financial Partners, 830-997-4763 or online at josephfinancialpartners.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial member FINRA.
For a family-operated, community-focused business that supports all men and women in the United States military and first responders, think Toch Well Service. For all your well repairs and service after drilling, think Toch Well Service. For water pump installation in windmill, solar pump, jet, submersible pump, and pressure tank service, think Toch Well Service. They've been serving Fredericksburg and the Texas Hill Country since 2002. Call 830-997-2413. License number 4502-KLP.
Welcome back to Barefoot, where we're talking Billies football with head coach Lance Moffett.
We're back.
We had just finished kind of breaking down Somerset and what makes them Somerset. But I want to hear, before we move on and talk about some other Billies sports that are doing cool things, what are your keys to victory? What do y'all need to do to knock off the board?
Yeah, so coaching cliches, right? Keys to victory.
My favorite. I love it.
They're always the same, right? A little different this week. Not much. It's always the same. Defensively, we've got to get them off rhythm. We've got to force them to punt. We've got to force some turnovers. We've got to align. We've got to get our checks. We've got to react to their movement the right way. And then we've got to just run to the football and take care of business, make tackles, force them to turn the ball over, force them to not be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of what, when you play Canyon Lake, when you play people that are more of a ball control type situation, we certainly have to be able to force them off schedule, if you will. We also need to be able to defend the pass better. We talked about that. I think that's going to be a thing because certainly the Detmer kid likes to throw it deep. He throws it all over the place, so we're going to have to rally to make tackles and do the things that we need to do. So from a defensive perspective, we're just going to have to take care of those things. Offensively, we're going to have to be able to react to what they're doing and try to ball control them a little bit. I mentioned earlier that I felt like we did pretty good at that the first half against line passes. We've been good at that at times throughout the year.
Specifically. That's kind of what y'all did. Yeah.
We need to be able to do that for sure. We need to be able to run the ball. We need to be able to throw the ball when we need to throw the ball. We need to be able to get over the top of them in the secondary if we can. And then, we got to be able to react to what they do, which is sometimes somebody's going to come free. And they may hit us with a 3 to 5 yard loss because somebody came free because of what they do.
Yeah.
And so maybe we couldn't account for that guy or whatever. So how we react to those moments is something that's going to be a key to victory. How do we react? How do we come back from that situation? And then in the special teams, we have to be solid. I say it every week. We have to be solid fundamentally. We have to be able to kick the ball where we want it. We have to be able to run and compress our gaps or compress our teams to the ball, and we have to make tackles when we get there. We always want to be able to steal some momentum in the kicking game, steal a possession if you can, steal the ball from them in terms of a turnover. So those are all keys to victory every week. Whatever football, whatever level it is, the team that wins the turnover ratio is going to win the game. However many percentages, it's in the 90s for sure. And so we got to take care of those things. And then the thing I told the kids this morning, and I've told them all week, is not get caught up in the noise of the playoffs, because the playoffs aren't any different. It's not different because we're playing in week 11 than it was in week 10 or 9 or 8 or 7 or 6. We got to go play a football game, and we got to play the football game to our best abilities. And you can't get caught up in the hype of the fact that it is a playoff game or it's a championship game or whatever it is. You got to go play football and take care of your business. So that's what it boils down to for us. And if we can get those things done and our leaders can lead them to that, then we're going to be doing this again next week.
I would love to be doing it again next week.
Me too.
I don't want it to end yet. I'm having a lot of fun. And
Me
got
too.
A bunch of seniors, but a couple things that did end this week, unfortunately. Volleyball they came up short against Wimberley, but I can't say enough And as just someone who covered that team all year, how proud I am
Yeah.
of the things that volleyball team was able to accomplish doing what they did in the postseason.
No question. If there were ever a group who defined resilience and overcoming adversity and perseverance as a team, that's that team. Those seniors, those juniors, that whole team, had lots of ups and downs throughout the season, whether it be injury or whatever, chemistry or whatever it was. And for them to come together at the end of the season and win those 2 games to get in the playoffs, and then to be able to win 2 playoff games and play for a third
against some good teams,
and play in Wimberley. I mean, if we win Game 4, I'm convinced we win that. We win Game 5.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that if we beat them in Game 4, and it was the final score was 27-25, I think.
I mean, set 1 was close, set 3 was ours, and set 4 was just that set 2 got away with us.
Yeah, set 2 they got away, and they're exceptional. I mean, they're a good team.
They got D1 hitters.
and Wimberley, they played in the state tournament last year. If I'm not correct, I think that's the case. I think they played in the state tournament last year. So they're really, really, really good, and we played them really well. Coach Rammer couldn't be more proud of him, his staff, and those girls. I mentioned last week that I told Janice Aquay at some point along the way, I said the greatest thing about sports is the redemptive quality of it. That no matter how bad things have gone, if you can put a string of wins together, everything seems to be a lot better. Everything feels better, and your team, you love each other more, and you do, because of that thing we talked about earlier, how much you hate losing. You hate losing more than you love winning, but the winning makes that losing kind of disappear. So shout out to them for that. It was a great deal. Regional quarterfinals, and they're on the verge of not making the playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
And then they win 2
They were
playoff
playing
games,
for their I mean, they essentially played one more playoff game than everyone else.
They
They're still
did
able to find a way to win.
because they're playing for their life.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. And that's, it just speaks to their character and who they are as people that they were able to overcome that and just did a great job with that. And couldn't be more proud of them and happy for them. And, they represent our program like they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
That's good. It's good stuff.
And before we run through a couple of these, I'm going to let you loose on the rest of these. But I do want to give a quick shout out to Olivia Finley.
No
the
question.
daughter of
Paige's
Paige Finley,
daughter,
our
no
producer
question.
today. Congrats to Olivia, our first big signing of the year. She's going to play softball at McMurray. So, proud of her. I'm really bummed I missed it. I was at band. But,
So we had our first signing of the year. National Signing Day happens 2 or 3 times a year now. Used to it was twice, and it's expanded.
It changes constantly.
We had our first signing. It was a great event. Coach Dan's, our girls coaching staff did a great job of putting that together. Christy Moore and Natalie Hanley and all the people that help put those together. We want to celebrate those kids. We bring them into the gym. We set them up. They sign their letter of intent. We talk about them. The coaches talk about them. And
they're always my favorite things to go to.
It's just a really neat event, and what a great thing for a family when your kid is getting ready to go to college to play sports and do something that they love. And it's a financial thing too, because mostly because of academics, they are able to get money, and then if they're pretty good at sports, then the athletic teams are able to apply some of that money as well. And then you look up, and all of a sudden, parents are happy because they're not having to spend as much money on college. And so that's a big deal for a family, and for kids to want to do that. I think there's a conception in the world these days that's like an easy thing to do. It's really not. It is exceptionally hard to get there, and it's even harder to stay there and to be able to finish. Being a college athlete is exceptionally hard because they have so many demands on those athletes that those other college kids aren't being held to those same
It is
demands.
a full-time job when you get to the college level. It really is.
It's a full-time job, and we know Olivia's going to do a great job with it. So
she's got the pedigree. She's got a sister ahead of her, and there might be a story there, Paige, talking about all your daughters playing collegiate softball. But I unfortunately wasn't able to be there because I was in Austin cheering on the band as they were competing for a state title. But I'm going to let you run through these. Talk about the programs.
Shout out to Mr. Hekamovich and the Pride of the Texas Hill Country Band for their 20th finish in the state. In 4A, that's exceptional. Top 20 in the state is a great way to finish. They did a great job. They had the preliminaries Wednesday morning.
They sounded great, too.
Their show is amazing. People that hadn't got to see it certainly got to see it again this morning on the pep rally. Celebrated them at the pep rally. Get to see it again tonight. And it's a really good show, and he's kind of, brought the pride back to them. They struggled last year. COVID really, really hurt them. Probably the biggest program that suffered through COVID the most was our band. And so it's great to see them back. It's great to see those kids being celebrated. And they did a great job. And now we're ready to keep it going through this football thing. So, and then shout out to our boys and girls basketball. You mentioned girls basketball had a big win. Boys
80-29 over Dripping Springs to start the year.
Tuesday night, that's their first game of the season. Boys basketball will have their first game next week, I believe. And so they're going to be rolling. Our swim team did really well at their swim meet last week. I think our girls got 10th and our boys were 11th. And they're improving each week, doing a great job with that. And then shout out to our cheerleaders for the job they did today at the pep rally. It was a great pep rally. Those things are hard to do. And those girls work really hard from Monday to Thursday to put that thing together. This was our big Spartan pep rally, which is kind of a senior-led thing where they, get to do a satire like Saturday Night Live, and it was a lot of fun for the kids, and it's a great that we're being able to have a pep rally this week. So shout out to everything going on campus. We're about to get rolling into winter sports. Soccer is right around the corner. The Monday after Thanksgiving, both boys and girls soccer will start, and so we just have a ton of activities going on, and our kids are doing great stuff. So couldn't be more proud of all the Billies and what we have going on.
And you can't forget cross country doing what they did.
Certainly. Good night,
Second,
Irene. Almost forgot that.
I got you, man. That's what I'm here for. Second, one of their highest finishes in what I remember Dan telling me.
Highest finish in 30 years, I think. Highest finish ever, I think.
Highest finish ever. First time top 3.
First time to get a medal in 30 years.
I think it was 1987.
I think they were third that year. So it was exceptional. It was great to be there to see them compete. The UIL does a great job of running that thing. And our girls, I said this on the podcast. Dan told me what they had to do to win it, and when it was over, he told me that they did it.
Right? He's a smart guy.
And, he's way smarter than most of us. He's certainly really intelligent.
The reason I do sports.
Yeah, and he's a math guy, and he knew, and so just to see those girls and all the families and the community, there's great support out there. It was a great picture of the girls plus all the people that came to watch them run, and then it was a great event to be able to award them. Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Rodriguez and Mr. Gonzalez, principal and the superintendent, were both there. They got to drape the medals on them, and it's just a great thing for our community when you get a medal at a state meet. So shout out to them for what they've done, and celebrated them today at the pep rally as well. So hopefully we'll keep this thing going, and we'll get to talk about it all again next week as well.
Absolutely. But Coach, we'll go ahead and start wrapping things up as Barefoot is getting busier and busier.
I don't know if I've ever seen Barefoot this crowded on a Friday.
Barefoot,
number one, it's awesome, and I guess the word's out that they serve free beer on Friday.
It's just the energy around Billy football. But
I guess we'll see.
7 p.m. DW Rutledge Stadium in Converse, Texas tonight. Billies.Live will be broadcasting it.
Awesome.
I'll be live tweeting it. There's multiple areas where you can figure out what's happening. Coach, best of luck, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for
tuning
in.
You did a great job
Coffee with
Thanks
Coach.
a lot.
Hopefully.